कहीं वो खुल गया ब्राउजर पे पेज। कैन आई मेक यू द होस्ट? श्रेष्ठ।
Hi, John. Good morning. How are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
Fantastic. Doing great.
Hi
Good
John, how are
morning.
you?
Fine, thank you. How are you doing?
Great.
You all ready
Kailash?
for your big
Yeah.
show? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hi, Kailash. Good evening. How are you?
I'm fine.
We can't see you yet though. Is it just
Yeah, I
me?
don't know. It shows that video is loading. Let
Okay.
me figure out why.
Okay.
Hope you are not partying.
Yeah, let me shut
I
off the
like
video.
your questions. I mean, I have gone through your questions. It'll be
Okay.
really interesting conversation. Yeah. Hi, Rishabh.
Hi. Hi, Ashwini.
Hi, good morning.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi Rishabh, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Great. So still at your conference, you mentioned you're attending some conference, right?
Yeah, today's the last day.
Okay.
Whereas I'm unable to get my video up and running, and I see no one else seems to have that problem.
Maybe you can try rejoining.
Yeah, let me disconnect and rejoin.
Yeah, sure.
Hey everyone.
Good morning.
Hi, hi, Sanat.
Hey, Sanat, good morning.
Hi, Sanat, how are you?
Hey.
I'm just waiting for Kailash to um, fix his camera and then we can start. Has he left the meeting again? I think he's left. Just wait for him to rejoin. Yeah, yeah, great.
Finally.
Finally, we can see you. All right, lovely.
Hi, everyone.
Hey Kailash.
Hello.
Hi, Kailash.
So I think we can start now. I'll just put the panel view one second. Mm. All right. I think we're all set to go. Ashwini, is the view, what's the view on your screen?
It's the entire gallery, but maybe you can make me a co-host and then I fix it and we can start.
It's not giving me that option. If you can switch off your camera, then I can hide you as a non-video participant. Oh, you're the host now. Okay.
All right, cool.
Shrishta has made you the host.
Maybe you can start and then I'll do that.
All right. All right, guys. Hi, guys. A very warm welcome to everyone who's joined us today. Uh, I'm sure we're live streaming, so there are people joining us from different parts of the world. So good evening, good morning, everyone, respectively, wherever you're joining us from. I'm extremely excited today to be moderating today's panel discussion on the future of AI in the digital health ecosystem. As we all know, AI is changing the way that we think about every industry. I think no industry is an exception, healthcare being one of them. And today we will actually dive into how AI has changed the entire healthcare industry, right? From improving basic things like patient care to making operations more efficient. AI is reshaping the diagnostic and treatment plans. And we're extremely excited today and extremely privileged to be joined by a great panel of both entrepreneurs and venture capitalists who are leading the way actually in this space. And I'm looking forward to hearing from all of you about how AI is shaping the future of healthcare and what we can expect moving forward. So, without much delay, I would like to introduce our first guest on the panel, Kailash Jayaldasani. So Kailash is the head of operations at VentureBlick, and he is a seasoned MD with over 20 years of experience in the healthcare industry. He's actually had roles spanning across hospitals, medical devices, as well as nutrition in the APAC region. His background includes leadership positions at Abbott Diabetes Care and Mead Johnson Nutrition. So over to you, Kailash. If you can introduce yourself, that would be great. And as it is clear from the varied roles that you've taken, I mean, an interesting thing about yourself, like you mentioned, is like you'd like doing new things every 5 years, right? That's why you've gone on so many roles across your career. So over to you, Kailash, if you can just introduce yourself a little bit and talk about VentureBlick also.
Uh, Thanks, Shruhita. I think it's my privilege to be here with this esteemed panel. You did talk a lot about my experience, but repeating bits of it in short, I'm a physician by training, have experience of around 5 to 7 years in clinical practice, post which I have experience across pharma, nutrition, and medical devices, spanning primarily 3 countries, India, Singapore, and Japan, which is where I was posted across multiple different roles. From the past 1.5 years, I've been heading VentureBlick for India. Now, I would like to introduce more than me a bit about VentureBlick. VentureBlick is a growth partner for healthcare companies globally. We are headquartered in Singapore, and we do have offices in China, Korea, India, and Germany, apart from Singapore. Primarily, we do 2 things at VentureBlick. First is the whole consulting execution support that we provide to startups. That is basically we give them anyone wants an experience of a market or wants to know a bit about entering a new market. We give them a lot of evaluation support in that market. We are pretty strong in Asia. So anyone from Europe, US wanting to come to Asia, East Asia, India, Southeast Asia, we are pretty strong in that. And the second one is it's not only the consulting that we do, but we also provide execution support, which means go to market, find distributors, give you the sales, marketing kind of support that you need for launching a product in a market. So that it covers our consulting and execution services. And the second part, wherein we provide is the innovation management services. In here, we help companies, startups by doing acceleration programs. So we have tie-ups with now governments in Korea and Singapore, where they are working with us to help grow startups from their country, which is Singapore and Korea, to other parts of the world. And second is we also provide open innovation, search, and interaction between startups by means of a platform called Discovery, which is an open platform where startups, advisors can register on the platform, interact, and get consulting from each other. So that's a bit about myself and the company. Thank you.
Lovely. Thanks for that introduction, Kailash. And just a follow-up question here. You mentioned Discovery is an open platform, right? So it is basically like, can I say like it's a marketplace that can connect like entrepreneurs with the right people? Would that be a right way
Yes.
to put it?
Typically, it's like a LinkedIn. You'd say you
Right.
have to register onto Discovery, be a part of it. It's no charge for registering onto Discovery. So we have around 3,800 experts on there. We have hundreds of startups onto there. We do a lot of open innovation searches there, which means MNC. Now we're working with the top 10 MNCs, 2 out of the top 10, where they're looking at a particular tech to get. So the first thing they go to is this platform to see if they have this tech available in this platform. So we use it as a networking, come something for our innovation searches and other things to connect startups with advisors.
Okay, lovely. So another question. If supposing I am someone who just has an idea on paper, right? Uh, and I come to you. So like you said, you help us from consulting to execution. So do you also help people shape the product, or necessarily someone has to come up with a product?
So typically, once you register as a startup, you could be in a different stage of a startup. You could be at a stage where you are just about thinking of a product. And you can put in an open question on there. Hey, I am thinking of this product. What do I do about it? And you could have one of the 3,000 odd advisors come to you and say, hey, I'm also interested in this. Let me help you out. So it's a very open networking thing, and that's between them when how they interact and all of that. So yes, you can come up with the idea there, but you need to register as an innovator.
Lovely. Extremely excited to have you today with us, Kailash, and I'm sure you'll give us a lot of insights as we move forward in this discussion. So
Thank you.
I'd now like to introduce our second panelist on board, John A. Seri. So John is the founder and CEO at IQ, and IQ is a company that is making vision care accessible through home-based solutions, right? And he has a PhD from MIT and 20 patents. John has been a leader both in vision testing technologies and satellite communications, leveraging his expertise to bridge the gap between medicine and technology. And apart from all these academic and technical, credits to him, he's also a musician and a futurist, like he mentioned. And so, yeah, I would like John to just talk a little bit about himself and introduce himself to the panel today.
Well, good day, everyone, and thank you for that brilliant introduction. I can't believe it's me, but it is. So, yeah, you've heard about myself. I have many years in industry, and I worked at, after MIT, I went to Bell Laboratories, I went to Lockheed Martin, Trimble Navigation. So I worked with the US government quite a bit. So I was always involved in very big projects. Let me just say a word. I got started with IQ. This is my first real entrepreneurial little startup kind of thing, where a friend of mine who was the founder of Zenny Optical, which is the largest online eyeglass company. So we were friends, and he said, John, could we build something to do vision tests on a smartphone with something like a little portable device? I said, sounds like fun. Sounds interesting. So we talked about it for a couple of years, and we formed the company back in 2015. So the company itself, I'll characterize IQ as a digital health type company. We're a medical device manufacturer. We have the ISO certifications. We've worked with FDA, registered our devices. We also provide a secure HIPAA compliant telemedicine platform that we use with doctors or even optical stores that have people who come in to get an exam. We do screening. We have a very innovative technology. This stuff is disruptive. And I think if we get into that discussion, we'll talk about what makes a technology like this, which is very simple, but it's ubiquitous. And the fact that you can give access to a very, very powerful technology at a very low cost is going to create disruptions. And I've spent the last 10 years, investigating all these disruptions. So once again, thank you for inviting me to the panel, and I look forward to our discussions.
Thanks, John, for that introduction. And we're extremely excited to have you on board today. And we'd love to learn more about IQ and all the industry disruption that you are mentioning. So we'll dive into it. I would now like to introduce our next panelist on board, Rishabh Sahu, founder at He's the co-founder at Urban Health and Risa Labs, where he's focused on reducing the healthcare inefficiencies through AI-driven solution. His work automates the administrative processes so that the healthcare professionals and doctors can actually focus more on patient care and not worry about the administrative hassles. Besides being passionate about AI and its interesting and the impact of AI, an interesting fact about Rishabh is that he's an engineering that has come into the industry straight out of college. In fact, he and his friends have picked up funding while they were in college. So we'd like to learn a little bit about that. And if you could just introduce yourself, Rishabh, that'd be great.
Hello, everyone. That's a great introduction. Thank you for that. I was always a technologist at heart. I always played around with the technology, and through the lens, I always wanted to shift to the digital technologies, however we can build that. I think in the college itself, we picked up a problem of behavioral health because we realized that, there is a lot of disassociation of people in schools, college. We do learn about mathematics, science, and everything, but not about how to manage our emotions. So sitting like the last years, realized that we can build something to the technology that can actually bridge this gap. In the late 20s era, we built all these solutions and we scaled it up to 1 million users across 100 plus countries. It was an instant hit. This was like pre-AI era we are talking about, but in the line of 2023, we realized that now a new dimension is opening up. So we have our own theory of AI. We call it an ACE model, where we believe that the AI can directly impact accuracy, cost, and efficiency. So believe in every process that exists, AI will further improve in these dimensions. So we realize that in coming years, we will see a tectonic shifts in these ways, right? So we started building our behavioral health solution through the AI like agents that we built in times. And we didn't restricted ourselves to this. Through RISA Labs, we started like even integrating AI solutions into workflows, like complex workflows that are out there. We realized that in US there is a very complex manual workflows out there, very tedious, and we realized that this can be further solved through AI integration. So we are heavily invested into adopting AI. We also work upon safety risks, like privacy and everything that are the biggest risk concerns from the AI side. So hand in hand, but we really want to like make this adoption possible and increase accuracy costs, decrease costs, and increase efficiency of all the workflows that we have.
Lovely. Thanks, Ushav. Really delighted to have you on board with us today. And I find it extremely inspiring, when people just like are starting right out of college. So we'd love to learn more about your journey as we go forward. Thank you for joining us
Sure.
today. And coming to our last panelist and last guest on board today, Sanat Mohanty. Sanat is the founder and CEO at Pinomial, and he has more than 20 years of experience in life sciences and R&D. He has been at the forefront of using AI to drive insights and strategies for the life sciences industry and has also played a pivotal role in developing the first implantable continuous glucose monitoring system. Apart from, like I said, all these amazing laurels to his name, Sanat also ran a human rights magazine, which I think is an extremely interesting fact about him and also shows like the more human side of all you academic and technical people. So over to you, Sanat, if you can just introduce yourself and talk a little bit about Binomial, that'll be great.
Hey, Shweta, thank you for having me on the panel and thank you for that introduction. And I'm looking forward to the give and take with various panelists, all of them with very interesting experiences, right, within around the AI space. So given my background in life sciences, one of the things that we felt a very keen opportunity for is increasing or improving efficiencies in terms of new product development in the life science space, both medical devices and drugs. You guys have probably heard of Moore's law, which says that every 7 years, the speed of compute, the power of compute doubles, right? There's a general kind of understanding in the life sciences field that we operate under the reverse of Moore's law. So every 7 years, it becomes doubly hard to find a new drug. The cost of developing a new drug or a new device becomes doubly hard, and so on. And this plays out if you look at the costs of development in the pharma space. You will see that trend. If you see the number of trials happening versus the number of approvals happening, you will see that trend and so on. These numbers are slightly skewed. You can slice it in other ways, but as an example, there are about 40,000 trials happening in the US today within FDA, and we would expect about within the pharma space, and we would expect about 35 to 45 drugs approved this year. So literally, if there was any other industry where this was the ratio, we'd be struggling, and there would be major initiatives to improve efficiencies, right? So that's the kind of space that Binomial is looking at playing in. And the way we are looking at getting involved, or the way we are involved, is typically one of the hard things about the life science space is the number of different entities and number of different knowledge streams that need to converge for us to define what that product should look like, what group of patients it will impact, how do we prove that impact, what are the commercials around that product, and so on. So you can see about 4 or 5 different functional themes converging to make this a reality. And typically for that to happen today, large teams will go find data, look at results coming from all of these streams to help put that together. And that's really part of that inefficiency that allows for sometimes suboptimal decisions, allows for opportunities where we could speed things up or improve efficacy, stuff like that. Of course, there's the other piece, which is that clinical trials take as long as they do. But even leaving that aside, there's a huge opportunity here, and that's what we are at Binomial going after.
Lovely. Thanks for that introduction, Sanat. Extremely delighted to have you on board today. And so we'll start with a few questions, few basic questions. And actually, this question is, I think, more relevant for John and Rishabh, because you are actually also providing the traditional medical or healthcare services in an AI format, right? Like, of course, with eye care and with behavioral medical services, like you said. What is the liability that comes with it, right? Because when you are in the medical space, it's not like any other industry where I do not have that kind of liability because, of course, it is not connected with someone's health directly. I can provide legal services or any other services, writing, editorial. It doesn't come with that kind of liability. So when I'm using AI in the medical space, what is the kind of liability that comes with it and how are you tackling it? John, you did mention about a lot of approvals and being certified in terms of data privacy and all of that. But other than that, what are the challenges? If you can just talk a little bit about it.
Let me jump in. There are many challenges with this. So now, when you're talking about medical, there's diagnostic, and then there's therapeutic. Okay. And on the diagnostic part in itself, there's different levels of it. So there's screening, as opposed to giving exact quantitative numbers. There's differences there. So the first thing you're dealing with is a spectrum, a range of different type of concerns. Now, some areas are more controversial than others. Vision itself, which is the exclusive focus of IQ, is you don't want to hurt the eye, you don't want to hurt the patient, okay? And there's second order effects, but the point is with the screening part, one of the questions I think was asked was, how do you deal with patients? But in actual fact, if I, for example, have a blood pressure meter that I go by at my local drugstore, right? And I use it and I make a measurement, I'm not a patient at that point. I'm a user of a medical device. And a lot of IQ's users fall into that category. They take a screening, they say, oh, I'm seeing 20/20, or I have a fair degree of myopia. But it's not a prescription, it's not a medical recommendation. So one of the important things to distinguish in a field like this is, for example, with IQ, and I imagine it's like this with any kind of company that's providing medical technology, you are not the doctor. You are not the optometrist. You're not the ophthalmologist. You are providing a means for people to get some information. Now, where it gets interesting is when you provide a means directly to people and you have the potential to bypass the traditional avenue of going into a clinic for eye care. And that raises questions, and you have to deal with the regulators in that regard. So I can go on for hours. I don't know if this is kind of in a ballpark. It's there are no crisp answers, is one thing I would say. If you want to walk away with anything with respect to regulatory, any question always has certain different interpretations around it, and that certainly is the case here. So how we deal with it, first of all, we want to make sure our devices are safe and effective. So for example, IQ has the ISO 13485 certifications. We've gone through HIPAA compliance training. And so we've done those sorts of things. All our devices are registered with the FDA. And then when you get into the classification regime, you have 510 type of class 1 devices that are exempt and some that are non-exempt. It turns out that our devices fall mainly in the exempt category. So we were able to get to market quickly with, say, screening devices and estimation devices that way. So I think that's kind of my answer. You can go back to the original question because I know I've wandered all over, information space there, but that's kind of how I view your question.
No, absolutely. Again, like you said, you're not really treating, but you're in the diagnostic space, which makes it a little, I would say,
Yeah.
less liability driven as compared to
Yeah.
actual medical services, right?
May I make one point is when you look at this, our devices use smartphones. So when I have my smartphone on, I got light coming out, right? I'm not being blinded by that. When I put a optical device through that and I look through it, I'm even getting less light, an order of magnitude less light coming through into my eye. So I don't have an illumination danger, so to speak.
Absolutely.
And you make it out of industrial grade, medical grade type of plastics and silicons. It's not going to, make people sick or other things. So these type of devices, fortunately, are very safe to use. And that's how IQ kind of deals with that.
Lovely. All right. Thanks for those insights, John. Rishabh, if you can just step in because
Yeah,
you're also
sure.
providing.
Definitely. In our case, we have seen the biggest risk is clinical risk. We are in clinical intervention. We do provide direct services which can help people better their mental health in clinical terms. So there is a new concept that is in digital therapeutics that is known as software as a medicine. I think John
Yeah.
told a lot of things about that, but yeah, in terms of software, when you're not diagnosing but you are providing clinical services, it becomes a little bit difficult because then you have to, let's say, create a comparison between the existing clinical interventions and how your software stands out against those, right? And then you have a liability of making sure that all the risks, such as patient risk, or in terms of AI, the biggest risk is hallucination. That sometimes AI can go haywire and doesn't respond in terms of what people might, you know, expect that out of. So imagine in these terms that when you're creating, let's say, devices, when you are creating standard softwares, you were able to chart out their whole journeys, like what these devices might do, what these softwares or digital things might do. There were limited number of possibilities out there that how these softwares or devices might respond. But the problem with the AI is that there are nearly infinite possibilities, right? Text or prompt by me and prompt over by you can give different results. For sure, they will get different results. There's no certainty in those terms. So I think that is one of the biggest risks. Even regulators are finding it hard right now to create regulations around those things, which we're even finding hard. So I think regulations in terms of AI are pretty new. They are upcoming, and even in terms of FDA approvals of 510K, we have to look forward how the AI solutions might get approval and what are the studies design that you have to do. So other than that, there is definitely a platform risk. A lot of companies are building their AI solutions over existing AI models, which are marketed by companies. We believe that, let's say tomorrow an AI platform says that oh, we are not supporting this kind of activities on our platform, then suddenly that's a platform risk. So we believe that we will be seeing a lot of shift of AI technology and services to open source models to reduce the risks of like dependency on the platform or any outages there. Other than that, definitely the patient's privacy, safety, and the data things. I think we will see more it's like difficult, and I would say very strong regulations around those because I mean the data that AI can absorb, and there are no guardrails around that. How to look like behind the scenes, what is happening, and those kind of things. Nobody can even guess that, right? So yeah, we will see a lot of regulations coming around. There are a lot of patient safety data regulations. So these are the primary three things that we believe.
Thanks, Rishabh. Thanks for those insights. And like as correctly put by you, I'm pretty sure the regulations will also have to evolve
Catch up.
because they'll also have to catch up with the technology. So thanks for those insights. Now, Kailash and Sanath, you're at the other side of the spectrum where you interact with a lot of budding entrepreneurs and companies. So if you can just talk a little bit about the recent trends in the industry and the kind of innovations that you're seeing both in the clinical drug space, the kind of drugs that are coming out, or like you said, Kailash, you also interact with a lot of people who are coming up with new ideas. So if you can just talk a little bit about the trends in the industry and how far do you think AI will deep dive? Right now, we have John and Rishabh who are more in the diagnostic space, so not that intrusive, but will someday AI actually start treating patients at home? So, maybe we can start with you, Kailash, over to you.
Yeah, thanks. I think it's a very interesting question. And actually, AI is the buzzword. Whenever we have someone talking to us about innovation, they always mention AI. And then sometimes it becomes a challenge to figure out if AI is actually being used or it's just a buzzword as a part of their presentations. But in general, if you see AI, it's coming across in 3 or 4 sectors and with different risks, like Rishabh and John pointed out, and different advantages. The first one where we are seeing AI coming strongly is the diagnostic space. So it has been established very well in radiology, where AI is used to see CT scans, X-rays, and all of that. Now, these
Yeah,
are places where it's like a screening tool. So again, it is finalized by a doctor. From radiology, now it's moved to pathology, and like John said, to ophthalmology. Ophthalmology, one, as in the direct diagnosis, but it's also moved a lot into something like a fundoscopy, retinoscopy, as you call it. All of these help to reduce the manual work by the specialist and helps the specialist reduce their work. They never are tools which are on their own as of now, just to avoid liabilities and avoid mistakes. So that's this place where we feel AI has set a nice precedent for the other sectors to follow, and we like that space. The new spaces in the diagnostic where we see AI coming in is those Alzheimer's and all that, where it is yet not established, but it's yet coming in, the behavioral mental disorders. You analyze the speech and say whether someone has got a disorder, going into Alzheimer's and all that. These are all experimental, but are getting mainstream very soon. So this is on the diagnostic side. On the therapeutic side, there are two types. One where the therapies are protocolized, where oncology, you have this finding on pathology, you have this finding on the clinical side. What is the protocol? You have to go through multiple journals and all. AI just sifts through this. You put in the inputs, and a simple AI tool, it's not even very complicated, can tell you exactly the kind of regimen you need to use. Another one where AI is helpful in complicated things is robotics, which is coming in a big way, surgical robotics. Where it is, again, like Rishabh said, a bit gray is where AI starts giving you therapy for conditions like diabetes, conditions like lifestyle, where they keep it like, hey, we advise it, but you can ask your healthcare provider for confirming stuff. So those are things on the therapy side. Apart from that, there are very simple things on AI, which is AI on the admin side. I use
yeah,
AI to get in my, appointments. I use my AI to figure out how should I use my OT to get the best, dollar for my time spent and resources spent. So that's where AI is without any complications. It helps to makes the operations more efficient. Uh, the last one, which is where the Sanath is an expert, is we are seeing AI being used to reduce the cost and resources for new drug and new innovations, which is where AI does a lot of the preclinical part of a trial. Um, and reduces the resources kind of required from moving from, say, a preclinical stage to a clinical, or even doing the early part of the clinical, going through a lot of data and telling you this is a chance of success, this is not the chance of success, you can stop your trial, or this is how you accelerate it. So that's the 4 parts that I'm seeing: diagnostic, therapeutic, admin, and drug. Diagnostic and admin are well established. Therapy and drug discovery are the places where I'm seeing a lot of movement happening now. If that answers what you are looking for.
okay. Thanks for that answer. You've actually really categorized it beautifully and made it very easy for me also to understand. I don't understand technology that easily. So thanks for that answer, Kailash. Over to you, Sanat, if you can talk about the drug discovery aspect uh, that Kailash was mentioning and how AI is transforming that.
Right. So let me back up a little bit and comment on a couple of things Kailash said. I would also look at AI from the technology side of it. All AI is, I mean, there's a significant technology difference, or there's a bunch of different kinds of technology that are all within AI, right? So one is a set of ML tools, machine learning tools that have been used in the radiology or in the diagnostic space for a while, and they have gotten better, but they have been used for a while. That's the recent, and so that's basically taking signal. So that's taking either an image or taking, um, you know,
Hmm.
um, signal from a watch or signal from some kind of other device, continuous glucose monitoring device, and being able to say, this is what I predict, or this is how the body is behaving, right? And on those lines, there's a lot of very interesting things happening. I mean, uh, there's a bunch of efforts, for example, to take a image of the conjunctiva and figure out if you have diabetes or things of that nature, right? And that's that's one thread of work happening. The other that's gotten a lot of excitement in the last couple of years has largely been driven by large language models. They are different kinds of models, right? They are not while at the core, the earlier models can also use transformer models, but these are very different kinds of models. And within the space, the application side of it is not very, how shall I say, given the amount of errors that and inaccuracy that pervades that system, there's still a lot of concern around using large language model side AI as opposed to diagnostic side AI or signal processing side AI, the kinds of things that, for example, John is working on, right? And I believe Rishabh is probably sitting on both from his technology stack side. He's looking at both of those. Now, as an example, OpenAI published a paper 3 weeks ago when they released O1, or maybe 4 weeks ago now when they released O1, and they talked about their accuracy levels with O1. O1 is the newest model that they released, and they very clearly call out that within biology and chemistry, they are probably less than 70% accurate when it comes to uh, hard problems that they call are PhD level problems. Okay. The reality is in our case, and when I say our case, I mean both, as Kailash pointed out, both on the therapy side and on the drug development side, um, we are probably past PhD level hard problems, right? We are looking at significantly hard problems. So as an example, um, pick a pick an example like Keytruda. Keytruda is a very strong and standard drug used in cancer across a bunch of cancers. If you went and said, "Hey, can you tell me for a patient for whom another drug does not work, what would the efficacy of Keytruda be?" And I can define that patient, right? In whatever way. What the search engines will, or what the large language models will do, is find all cases of, and I'm really getting deep here for a certain reason. They will find all publications that have either Keytruda and that drug name together for whatever reason, or they have Keytruda and that drug as a comparator, as in they would or that drug and Keytruda is being given together, or when that drug didn't work, you're giving Keytruda, right? So for very different cases, they will put all of that together and give you the response to that. So now that leads to the kinds of inaccuracies that we are talking about, right? And typically with large language models, that's still an issue where how do you pick up information from very disparate sources? And remember, for us as researchers, irrespective of what kind of research you do, we are always looking at counter trends. You are always looking at outliers, whether Kailash is investing or I'm doing drug development or John is looking at how he can improve, the last 10% efficacy in his systems. You're always looking at outliers. That's where interesting things happen, right? And that's where large language models have a higher amount of error than elsewhere, just because they are looking at outliers. The sample set of analysis is much smaller. So now coming to the space of drug development, drug discovery is a very different process than drug development. Discovery is where you are looking at, hey, what kind of new molecules should I be designing? Okay. Drug development is okay, I have picked this molecule. As a company, I've decided I'm going to spend 10 million, a billion, whatever it is, on that molecule. What do I need to take it further? I might tweak it, but largely I'm looking at that molecule, right? So very different areas of focus, very different companies, very different skill sets that look at these two problems. But for most part, the biggest issue is, how do I look at accuracy? How do I look at accuracy? How do I look at traceability? How do I, you talk to any scientist, irrespective of whichever space they are in, if you make a recommendation, say something, you will have to provide both the sources of your information as well as the assumptions under which you are saying whatever you are saying, right? Both of those are gaps largely in the suite of solutions that exist. And those are the kinds of problems that need to be solved for us to make serious headway. There is a class of solutions that essentially is using available language models and providing some kind of a wrapper around it. I see those having limited applications. Those applications would probably be on the business process side. They would be on as Kailash said, on the admin side. But I think given where the state of art of large language models are, those kind of solutions will have limited application within a broader framework.
Lovely. Thanks for those insights, Anand. So, from what I understand from both your and Kailash's answers, that while we've made headway in, say, the diagnostic or the administrative aspects of thing, when it comes to actual therapeutic solutions or drug discovery, what AI can do as of now is limited in scope, right?
It will have to be, I won't say limited in scope. I think there's a lot of very interesting work happening, but it it can't be that we have a hammer and we are going around looking for a nail to bang on the wall. We really need to figure out, for a certain kind of problem, what is the set of solutions that need to be possibly engineered to address that need.
Thanks for that answer. So now, coming to another question, which is a little different from the discussion that we're having, and I think this might be relevant for Kailash and Rishabh. You might be interacting with people in different geographies, Kailash, right? And I want to understand how is the trend in India versus the West. Now, Rishabh, you've also moved from India to the West, and of course, John and Sana both are based out of America. So how do you see trends in different geographies? And how is India placed as opposed to the West?
I think that's a valid question, because we see very different kind of innovations coming from different parts of the world. Typically, when you look at India compared to the rest of the world, India is a tech hub. So you would see a lot of software coming from India, a lot of AI models coming from India, a lot of apps coming from India. These will be much more advanced compared to many other places globally. However, on the flip side, when you look at this is only software, and software typically is slightly difficult to protect yourself from. And you being legal experts, you know that people copy it very quickly. Even within India, you'll have something else which is similar. So where we see India lacking a bit is the hardware part. So where you have devices which incorporate AI, but they're primarily devices. These are things which are coming from countries like, say, Korea, in our case, China, even Germany, from the markets that we are present in, even Israel. These are 3-4 markets where you're seeing a lot of hardware work come, apart from, of course, the US, come in, and India becomes the software hub. So where we've seen India provide the software to a company which is creating hardware from, say, Germany or Korea, this is where we see a win-win model coming in. Both sides are developing to the other part of the spectrum, which is typically India is now becoming a manufacturing hub. So you're seeing a lot more new devices come, which incorporate the AI and other software strengths that India had. And you're seeing a lot of companies in East Asia, like Japan. Japan was always advanced, but they are getting a lot more AI apart from the innovative devices that they have. US seems to be the best of both worlds, where you see both software development as well as hardware coming in at a huge rate. The challenge that we see with the US, if I see from a third party, is the cost of these devices typically is on the higher side the moment you require manufacturing. For manufacturing, it has to come back to somewhere in East Asia, Southeast Asia kind of market. So that those are the trends we are generally seeing. Nothing hard and fast, but yeah, this is how we see the companies coming in.
Thanks, Kailash. Thanks for that answer. And John, if you can just step in, I mean, because you are, I believe, manufacturing in the US itself,
Sure.
so is cost an issue?
Cost is an issue. Let me say something about the environment in general. Is there's a feeling in the U.S. in general, which is very positive for innovation. You know, I'm in Silicon Valley, sort of. It's the hub of innovation, and
Yeah.
you know, it just somehow, and I can't quite explain it, but people come up with ideas and software, hardware. There's a certain level of creativity, and it has to do a lot with the whole mix of. And I don't want to get too political here, but you know, the U.S. has all of these different people coming in to study at some of the best universities. They stay here. They really want to do great things, and they do it. So there's in the U.S. you have a lot of innovation in AI. A lot of the lead has been done, is being done in the U.S. And you know, when you go to India and other places, you go to China, the execution, say for example, in hardware is excellent. The manufacturing, in fact,
Yeah.
we manufacture our devices in China at a much lower cost than we can do in the US by an order of magnitude, and the quality is quite good. But I can't go to China and come up with some AI algorithm to improve how I'm going to refine my refraction accuracies. So it's a very global sort of thing that we're challenged with. So, but one of the things I want to talk about, and tell me if it's appropriate, we can talk about it later, we don't have that much more time, is there are other barriers to AI. So we've heard a lot about the technological barriers and how large language models have limitations and other things, but there's just a whole other set of things that need to be considered. So you have in the medical device area, in the medical area, you have the medical providers themselves. So there's a commercial disruption, there's effectiveness concerns all the time. The patients, the public in general, needs to accept AI, and people are skeptical about anything that's new. We face that in IQ. Anytime you have something new, it sounds great, it's easy, but people say, well, I'm used to doing it the old way. And that's one of the things, a lot of the AI in diagnostics and other areas is you're not creating something that's brand new. You're just doing something more effectively or more efficiently, maybe. So there's not immediate adoption. It's going to take time. And there's all sorts of privacy legal concerns around anytime you bring a new technology in. There's all sorts of logistics and deployment concerns anytime you come in and you change workflows. So the bottom line is, when you come in with any new technology, and AI falls into that category in a big way, it's going to take time. So there's going to be patience. Someone who comes in and thinks they're going to sell 1 billion of these in a year or so, I don't think so. Not maybe with a few exceptions, but most of the time it's going to be a hard fought battle. And the regulatory side and the competitive side will make you face challenges. And I'm speaking from experience.
You've been like you mentioned, IQ has been in presence since 2015, right? So
Yeah.
it's close to 10 years now, and it would have been difficult for you too, right? For people to actually trust a device that would give me an accurate reading. So do you think
Yeah.
now, I mean, how much time has it taken for you to find that acceptance? And I'm hoping it's been fine
Yeah,
now.
it's a great question. We came out with our first product in 2017. We worked in stealth mode. We came out with something. We did a Kickstarter campaign. We tested the device extensively, so we knew about its safety and its accuracy. We did a Kickstarter campaign, and we had 5,000 people use it. I had one person doing support. We had to figure out how to ship out 5,000 devices in a week. It was really heady. You know, we won CES some innovation awards because, again, this is a new idea, disruptive technology. And at first, you know, people are very skeptical. But over the years, people have come to accept that this technology is inevitable, that you will do accurate vision tests at home. It's inevitable. That wasn't the case 4 or 5 years ago. So it's been a gradual progression in impressions, feelings that people have over the years, including the medical community and the regulators as well. So there's more acceptance now. You have to be around for a while. So again, if a company in this space, patience is a necessary virtue, I would say. You cannot expect something quick. It takes time. Just one quick analogy. When the stethoscope was first invented by a doctor around 1820, it took about 50 years before it was accepted as in a big way as a medical device. So it takes time, and AI is going to face these challenges as much as any other innovation has come in. So my word is, you know, be patient with it and work honestly, ethically, and try to make this thing, you know, go forward.
Great. Absolutely. Like you said, it's going to take time for everyone. And I think now I'll just take your insights, Rishabh. You mentioned that you hit a lot of users after, I think 2018 is when you started, right?
Yeah.
And it would have taken some time for you to develop the kind of user base that you have today and for people to trust your product. So if you can talk a little bit about that. And also you have transitioned from India to the
Yeah.
US. So if you can talk a little bit about the geographical,
For sure.
transfer.
I think the first thing I'll really talk about is we can break down the software into two parts. First is innovation, and another is implementation, right? I think for innovation, you require massive amount of capital. I think we yet to see that amount of capital inflow in Indian side. The biggest reason of the US being the innovation center is they have like order of magnitudes higher capital like putting into innovations. So that is one of the biggest reasons why we see even the foundational model and AI, all of these being created specifically in US. But definitely the implementation and how the softwares will be created on over those foundational models, we can see those layers developing into Indian and other geographies. Uh, One of the other things is definitely about the demand solutions in the market. Uh, Certain countries are early adopters because they have higher capitals to adopt these solutions out there. Even the solutions that we build out of in India, they are generally outsourced and sold in some other geographies. India is not exactly the core absorber of those technologies and software solutions. So we saw that coming up. We realized that. When we're building such solutions for behavioral health, we saw the retention and the demand of such solutions are even from the employer's perspective, even from the business's perspective. We saw that the outside geographies have much higher budgets. They have much higher demand for such solutions coming up. So that has been our experience. I think when we started scaling, we scaled to actually 100 plus geographies out there. And I now, after that, I was a really provide geography. I can just, you can just ask me a country and I can point where it is, even if it's smallest country out in Europe. So we would track everything. We would just look at, okay, what are the retention level, how the people are responding to the product, how the companies are responding, insurance, businesses, employers, everyone. So I think that has been a pretty great experience learning for us. But we could understand that generally US, UK, Australia, and these kind of countries have that way higher budget to buy your solutions. So that's what, but that is significantly changing. I mean, in India, we are seeing innovation pumping up. We see that new solutions being built. It is now catching up in terms of creating more innovative solutions out of foundational models. So yeah, I mean, we are very optimistic about the future on that.
Great. Thanks for that answer, Rishabh. And if I can just ask Sanat because we're talking about acceptability, right? So how much is AI being accepted in your space, which is the drug discovery space? Are people completely relying on it, or do you still need like proper external consultants and human intervention? And you've also shifted from India to the US. You mentioned that you were a professor in
Well,
India.
I've gone
So
back and forth a few times or a couple of times.
yeah, so if you can also give us some insights. Uh,
Right. So again, we as an organization don't spend any time on drug discovery. We are mostly on the drug development side of it.
right. So yeah,
And there is again, as I said earlier, unless we are able to prove accuracy,
yeah,
it's we are not welcome. So I mean, we absolutely and so a lot of our work has been how do we build algorithms that are able to get you to above 90% accuracy. And we say 90% because we've done a lot of manual testing, and we find that generally for repetitive work, human accuracy is around 90, 91, 92%. It doesn't go much higher than that. So that's the level that we are shooting for, but that's something that as a community, as an ecosystem, that we will have to prove um, to this client base that kind of accuracy, that kind of scalability, that kind of traceability exists. We will have to prove that the kinds of solutions that they are looking for, the specific use cases that are high value to them, those are that we are able to deliver on that as an organization. Now, I think as Rishabh said earlier as well, as far as the customer in the life sciences side of it, you know, let as long as regulatory needs are covered, for most part, where the solution is built is less of an issue, or how it is built is less of an issue. But as far as the regulatory sides of it are covered, right? For us, we are a US and India operation. Actually, more than that, we are a Western Europe, North America, and India operation. Most of our clients are Western Europe and North America. Our development happens both in the US and in India, and we certainly take advantage of the talent pool that is available in India, right? So we see things that we find of great interest are a strong technical community, a strong technical community that is hungry for success, that is hungry to play with interesting ideas. Um, but having said that, it is also within a milieu where where uh, I'm just thinking about the best way to say this. In a milieu where R&D is not very highly valued outside of the startup community in India, right? So what that means is pointing back to something John said and Rishabh said in terms of money, but it's not just the money; it's also the willingness to engage on innovation or on research.
yeah.
The diligence that goes with it, the willingness to put in the bandwidth that goes with it, not just the money. That uh, I think outside the startup community, there's a much more limited willingness within the uh, broader Indian industrial ecosystem to support that, and I'm hoping that that changes in the next couple of decades. But that's largely where things are, or as I perceive them, things are today.
Okay, thanks for that answer, Sanat. And yes, maybe things have already changed so much in India, and I'm pretty sure with passing time things will change more. An open question to all of you, and anyone is free to answer. Uh, how important do you think protecting your IP is, especially in like the software space, and how much do you prioritize it? Of course, it's important for protecting, but I also believe that securing IP helps in raising investment. So if you can just anyone is open to answer to this.
I'll give a quick answer. It's extremely important. And very early on, we first secured a license from MIT, which had this original idea of how to refract light through the smartphone. But then we went and developed lots of patents, and I think there's real value in that. Not only in the economic value, but in the process of writing patents, you come up with better ideas and refinements of ideas. So it's extremely important, and it creates a competitive barrier that is needed for investors to, feel like maybe this is worth investing in. Yeah.
Great answer. I mean, I think it's really interesting. Like you said, you discover new things while you actually write the patent.
Yeah.
I think I'll add here. I believe that with AI, it will be easier to copy technologies, right? Uh, at scale. So coming up, IP will become extremely important. Patents will become extremely important because we are seeing the time to develop softwares reducing by the order of magnitudes. What it earlier took a month, maybe now it takes a week or half a week to just develop those softwares, right? So I think the defensibility aspect, we will see the IPs and these things getting more and more adopted into the market. Earlier, defensibility would be like, okay, I mean, you can create something similar to me. I don't care because it's hard to create those stuff. But I think now that defensibility has reduced a lot, and in the upcoming times, it will further reduce. So people would have to, or companies would have to protect their like all of these things, software and hardwares, through proper legal methods. And I think and in those cases, IP and other practices would become extremely important.
Right. Absolutely.
So I have a little bit of a mixed view on this. I think on one hand, like Rishabh said, there are certain assets that it becomes very easy to redo that asset, right? So so being able to protect that asset would be important. On the other hand, how you get the let's say you're looking for a certain outcome. Okay, let's say you're looking at a certain outcome from your software being able to do some things. Whether if I can do that in 7 other ways, and by the time my patent is where it needs, by the time I write my patent, I have new ways of solving that problem. That makes it harder to understand how should I think about patenting, what should I patent, where should I go. And this is more true on the software side of it than on the hardware side of it. But that's kind of the two kind of competing forces that one needs to think through.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, for us, we're not experts on patents, but the question we always ask, and if we do not know, get an experts to answer is, how much protected is this innovation from someone copying or infringing on the patents? Or if they don't have patents, we definitely don't engage a lot. And we try to see in each geography, how well are they protected? Is it something which protects them globally? Is this something which protects them country by country? Because you would be protected maybe in a couple of countries, but you launch in a country where protection is not so good, you may get a $500,000 worth of business, but your whole thing can be copied. So we are very particular on this. And if we are not sure of the protection, we do call in experts to figure out whether the protection is there. So that's how we do this.
Right. So it is an extremely important aspect that you consider before you dole out investment or
Yes.
help. Great. Great. And I think we're running a little bit short on time, but I would like to open this panel up. And if you guys want to ask any other, each of, you can ask questions to the other panelists if there anything. Okay, I think we're good on that aspect. So before we sign off, I would just like to go around to each one of you and ask you one last question. It's going to be a mix of two parts. What's the biggest challenge that you faced up until now in your journey? And what is the one advice that you would want to give someone entering into the space that you're entering? What is it that they have to sort of be aware of? Because there's so many people who are innovating today throughout the world. So maybe we could just start from John.
Sure. It's not one thing. In a startup, you're facing many things at once. I mean, the people part is really important. So you want to have really good people on board. In a startup, they will make you or break you. So the HR aspect is crucial in it. And then you need to be you need to have a good idea, right? You want to make sure that you've done some marketing and you know what it is that you're building, and you have enough experience and discipline to actually build it. So I have a long list. I actually give talks on, how to do a startup. But those are some of the things that, first come to mind. And that applies to whether it's a bakery or you're making a new type
Yeah.
of nuclear reactor. You have to do, you need a good baker or you need a good nuclear engineer to help you along the way. So that's my short answer.
Lovely. So great people and great ideas, a
Yeah.
combination.
Yeah.
Great. Nice. Sanat, if you can talk about your biggest challenge and your advice to someone entering the industry.
I think a couple of things. One is the team is very important. If you don't, I mean, there's a lot of intensity here, and if so spend a lot of time putting together the team that you'll enjoy working with, a team that you can argue with, disagree with, go at it with each other, with the team. Because in the absence of that, it's not going to pan out, or it's not going to be worth it, one or the other. And then patience. I don't think there's anything that replaces that.
Lovely. Right. And because we've been talking about acceptability so much, so yeah, you have to be patient before you can actually get accepted and make a mark, right? Over to you, Rishabh. What is, because you're such a young entrepreneur, I'd love to hear about the challenges that you faced and what is your advice? Because I'm sure there are lots of students that can benefit from your story.
I think one of the biggest challenge was being young. I
Yes.
think most of the times
That's
people
the
don't
biggest
take you seriously.
advantage, actually, not your biggest challenge.
I think when you come in the healthcare industry, most of the people are seasoned and they don't see technologists and innovators coming from healthcare background as same as or their colleagues, right? They feel that you need to have a healthcare or such background. They won't see you as if you have a computer science from AI, you are into that. They would see an outsider. I think that's what I felt. Again, it's a personal opinion, but I think now that that is changing slowly and steadily, and once we have a solid 5-6 years of experience in healthcare, that definitely changed few things here and there. So that has been one of the things. Other than in recently, we are facing a pushback of kind of the adoption of new AI solutions. Right, everyone is little too much, I would say, paranoid about how the AI will be implemented. So I think I would suggest my one suggestion would be to do more pilots to build more trust with the stakeholders in the industry. That's the route that we are taking. We don't directly go into the commercialization phase. We just ask them, okay, let's do a pilot. Let's see how it is. You can build a mutual trust. Everyone can build a mutual trust around there, and then the adoption can happen. So again, those are my 2 cents.
Great. Thanks for those insights. Over to you, Kailash, like because you interact with both the spectrum, right? Young entrepreneurs and the established ones.
Yeah, for me, I've seen the biggest challenges when the young people who develop new technologies. It's less than half the battle won when you create a technology. Actually, the bigger challenge is how do you get it adopted in the wider population?
Yeah.
And that's something people rarely think about. They say, wow, I've got a great product. It should sell on itself. That doesn't happen. So I think that's the biggest challenge, which people don't give so much thought to. And that's where the funds are over and they're saying now it should hit, but they don't get the revenue. So I feel that is a challenge which people don't pay a lot of attention to.
I
Second is,
think,
yeah, go
sorry.
ahead.
No, this is the best point. I mean, this is really the highlight. It's the biggest thing that uh, that's the best advice that people should look forward to.
Yeah. Thanks, Rishabh. And one advice I would like to say is again, the way we filter out is we try to filter out if you're solving a problem which is big enough and if you're solving a problem which is growing. If you do both of that, you will come to a huge market potential. Typically, what happens is sometimes innovators solve problems which they feel are big without actually trying to validate whether it is as big as they thought. So we many times
Yeah.
hear passionate founders say, I took my parent to a hospital and I realized that was a challenge and I thought I will solve it.
Hmm.
It could be a problem only with your parent or your relative.
Hmm.
You have to first do something more objective, figuring out whether it's a big problem, not with your friends and relatives and the one known doctor, but from a larger audience of healthcare practitioners, and then go about solving the problem. That's the second thing I would like to tell. Thank you.
Great. Great. Thanks. Great words, Kailash, like you said. Even Rishabh agreed. So it's for all the young people, right? Because everybody feels that I've solved it and like I've come up with the solution. So proper research, proper surveys before you even come up with a viable idea.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest problem with the first-time founders. They get too much into love with the product, not with the business and the markets. We have even seen that in our first and second companies that are happening. So yeah, that's a transition from that itself.
Yeah, from innovation to marketability, actually.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly the reason why when we all moved to create VentureBlick, that was a whole thing that if we have great ideas, but we have founders who are from tech or either doctors, how do we commercialize them and do
Yeah,
that? So that's a part that we play in it. And that was the whole thought about it.
lovely, lovely. And I guess I think we've already exceeded our time, but it was great to have all of you on board, and I learned a lot, and I hope it was interactive and nice for you all also to just share your insights and your journeys. So thank you for joining us, and I hope all of you have a good day, and we'll circulate snippets for everyone for their benefit.
Yeah.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot. Thank you, everyone.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thank you,
Okay.
team, for
Bye-bye.
coming in.
Bye, guys. Have a good day. Good
All right.
night. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.